Hello, Sharks. My name is Mikaila Ulmer.
And I'm Theo Ulmer, Mikaila's dad.
I'm the owner of BC Lemonade, and today I'm here to ask for $60,000 for 10% equity in my company.
How did a 9-year-old girl become a millionaire? How did she walk onto a stage, not knowing what would happen, but a matter of a year later be set up for the rest of her life and do something that most adults and people that I've known since then hasn't done? How did she step into fear? How did she have confidence in herself? And how did she believe in her story enough that she's willing to get on the world's biggest stage with some of the most richest, most famous people in the world and outperform most adults? This is the story of Mikaila Ulmer, who has Me and the Bees Lemonade. Stories like hers has been inspirational to me for the past 14 years. How did I meet her? What happened? And what did we all see in her that by the end of the series, you see in yourself? I met Mikaila back in 2014 in Austin, Texas. She walked in to a casting event that we were holding with South by Southwest and Shark Tank. And the goal, as I mentioned in my previous story, was that on the show, there wasn't a lot of women and minorities who had cracked the code yet. Back then, Shark Tank was the pinnacle of a brand getting on TV, telling a story, and winning. It was the equivalent of a TED Talk because you could get funded by a billionaire, literally billionaires, and change your life. And back then, a lot of us had lost hope. There was a downturn similar to right now. A lot of people were losing their jobs. And one of the hallmarks was if you can have a product that serves a person, you build some type of business. You didn't even at the time need an audience, and you can somehow connect with people through the television, through the sharks, through the whole casting process. But that process was sort of a secret. It was something that a lot of people just thought was magical, that you somehow was special. And what I found was that it's not that you are special. You are in a way because you're uniquely you. But what makes you special to an investor and your story isn't what you think. It isn't just that you have a great product. It isn't even that you're just a great person. There was a process to it that might be boring to some people, and I can teach that as we go along. But the point of this story is to highlight the day that I met this little girl, the day that I worked with the casting team for Shark Tank, what they told us all day that might be inspirational to you and your story, and how once you peel back the curtain sometimes on what seems like a secretive process that only the rich or the powerful might know, only the people who are pulling the strings up top, that's not it. And what is it that makes one story better than the other one? What is it that makes one entrepreneur more successful than the next? You might deserve just as much as that person. You might have worked just as hard. And it's not just because this was a cute little girl. It wasn't just because she was already in Whole Foods, which a lot of people don't know about. She was already, in fact, successful at that time. It was that people were also giving her a chance. And the chance wasn't, hey, here's a cute little girl, let's take some type of risk on her. It wasn't risky. In fact, your story can de-risk your business because it not only shows who you are and your passion, but your story will show people how it's done, how you think, and it'll take you through this process. So the 6 P's that I talked about in the previous video takes people through individual stories. Each one of them is a solution. And in this one, I don't want to cover that. I want to get back to Mikaila. I want you to understand what I saw that day in her versus hundreds of other participants who didn't get on the show. And what was it about this person that when she walked into a room that you knew that she was going to succeed, even at a young age? And at the age of 9, she didn't know that she would be a millionaire that year, but she knew that she would be successful, and that's all she wanted in her mission to save the honeybees and her mission to put out good into the world. What was it about this little girl that I loved? It wasn't just passion. It was the clarity and conviction in her mission that I think was the first thing that made the difference.
I created a product that was both good for you and tastes great at the same time. Lemonade, anyone? This is ginger. So, Sharks, which one of you will be sweet, join my team, and help me build my American dream?
There's a list of things, but the most important was when you have conviction that what you're doing is good and that your product serves a purpose, that your service helps people. There was a conviction that she was doing the right thing. And by doing that, she was able to get other people on board, because even if they didn't care about honeybees, even if they just wanted to help a little girl succeed, they saw themselves in her story. They saw someone wanting to do good, and they wanted to be a part of that. So you may not care about my cause of helping busy women executives with all the stress in their lives. That's me from 2-3 years ago. And how I deal with that now is my solution. But for we also have universal challenges, and we all want to live a purposeful life that gives back to the world instead of takes. And when you see someone with a passion for that, it doesn't matter if you have a boring product or a boring business. The thing that I learned from her was to talk about your passion. A lot of people say start with why, some people say start with who. To me, it doesn't matter. The fact is you need to have the audience be able to transition into your world, see things through your eyes so that they can see the vision for a better future, the way you individually are going to make an impact on the future. And for her, it was that she was going to grow up and be someone who did something amazing in the world. And of course she did. So I remember that it was a gloomy kind of overcast day. I was really worried about if it was going to be too sunny, if it was going to rain, because South by Southwest in Austin, Texas is always in March. And it could be rainy, it could be windy, it could have gorgeous weather or terrible weather and be really cold. That day, I believe it was cold and it was a little bit rainy. And we were hoping that a lot of entrepreneurs would show up to our event, because the more people that showed up, it would show the Shark Tank casting team, as well as South by Southwest, that we were worth the risk. If we weren't able to get anyone on the show, we were afraid that they would never do such an event again. And for all I know, they haven't, even though we were successful and got some amazing folks through there. But all we wanted was a chance to open the door for other entrepreneurs. And on this gloomy, the pissy kind of rainy day, in walks all these different entrepreneurs, some in their Sunday clothes, some of them, with their baseball caps on. Back then it was lean startup days. So you have the kind of more bro looking guys, the people who were pitching tech products, which at the time wasn't something you did. Shark Tank was specifically for more like a brand, someone who had a product. Some people were trying to pitch services, which we let them. But with her, I don't remember if at the time that's when she had like this bright yellow dress and this big bright yellow bow and a big smile. And she instantly makes you smile when you see her. Some people light up a room. And on this gloomy, rainy, pissy rain day, where we weren't sure if anyone would show up for the opportunity, she showed up. And one of the things that I think we can all learn is a lot of times there were people who thought they'd have no shot, and they didn't even show up to get to know the casting team and to ask questions like I did about how to pitch a story, how to get on the show. What is it that makes a great story? How do they pick people? Those are things that if you like, I can expand on the channel. I've told other people, and I don't want to take forever in these videos. I'm doing a challenge where it's 30 videos in 30 days. And my hope is to answer questions from you guys, from what I see as far as storytelling and building a premium brand, getting funded if that's something you want to know about. But on this day, this was a day that they knew once they talked to her, their hearts lifted, because they knew that they could shape it from there if they needed to. The $1 million story I walked through on how to build a $1 million story, how to go through your process and not make it boring, how to use ChatGPT. But in terms of this person and what I learned is, number one, anytime there was a pitch event, she showed up. Anytime there was an event in town where she got in front of buyers, she had clarity of purpose that she was going to show up at the opportunity and do it. I have a problem, and you might too, about feeling that this isn't going to work. It didn't matter to her if it worked or not. She was going to take the effort to go try it. And one of the things I found with entrepreneurs is a lot of us don't show up because we don't think we belong at that table. And you might not. Maybe you're not ready. But for her, the opportunity is there, and it's too great of a shot to get in front of a buyer, in front of a speaking audience, if that's your thing, an author, a book signing. She took the chance because what does it take besides time? To just show up and say, I'm here. And at the very least, she would make some contacts. So she let go of the outcome. That was one thing that was important. Is she was just there to show up and smile, have people try her lemonade, and we didn't put all the pressures and the burdens that we do, that you might do, on yourself to actually succeed. It wasn't about success. If you've heard that it's not about success, it's about the journey. It was about just showing up, telling her story, and each time seeing who leans in. Seeing when they say, when people smile. If you've ever told a story and people say, wow, that was amazing, that's a good story, that's a story that the next time you tell it again and again and again. So she had, at that time, told her story again and again and again and figured out what people leaned in on. She also showed up to just about everything that she could so that more and more people can recommend her and get to know her. At the time, it was just to sell a product. She had no idea later on that she would actually have a shot at something big in life. So if I think that this journey starts with showing up day after day, just like I'm going to show up day after day with videos, not worried about the success of the video, how many people watch, how many people comment, subscribe. We don't need to worry about all that. What we need to worry about is something in our ear telling us we don't belong in a room. Something saying that, well, you're not going to be successful at that. Yeah, maybe I won't. Maybe no one will watch, maybe no one will listen, maybe people will be bored, maybe they'll be on their phones. But the fact is you never know who else you're going to meet, what other opportunities you're going to get, and if in the end, Damon John will look you in the eye or the sharks will smile and say, I'll take that deal. That was one of the proudest days of my life because an effort that we put on with Hugh Forrest from South by Southwest saying, let's just give people a chance to be in the room, ended up changing a little girl's life to where she hired her mom, her dad, all the people around her, employed people who may have not gotten a chance to work with such a big company. But that's what happens when you give someone a chance. Mikaila Ulmer's story is a story about a lot of things to a lot of people. To me, it's a story about giving yourself a chance, about not quitting because you don't think you'll succeed, which if you think about is backwards. It's about taking that next step, stepping into that room and saying, I'm just going to tell the story. I'm just going to talk about what my goals are and what I want to achieve in life that's going to make this world a better place. That is actually what makes a good story. The process gets you there, but you have to practice by first showing up and getting in the room. And that's how a 9-year-old girl became a millionaire at the age of 10.